Buffy Payne. Now, Matt and Buffy are traveling. They are in Punta Cana, I think that's what it's called, on vacation, but they're also working, which is crazy. They need to take a break. So anyway, but Mark Jordan is our spiritual advisor as well as our pastor here at Hope Church. And we just welcome y'all here. And we're going to have an awesome speaker, Bruce Pulver, which I will talk a little bit about before he comes. But first, we would like to invite Mark up here to provide our devotional and prayer.
Thanks, Julie. Welcome, everybody. I sure am delighted to see each and every one of you here at Hope Church. It's exciting for us to be able to spend time in Atlanta, and even more convenient to be able to spend time down here, at least for me. Anyway, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed the treats. The cookies were homemade by my son. My son is a bit of a Renaissance man. He's 22 years old. During the whole COVID shutdown things, he got into baking. He got into plants. He's now learning how to crochet. I mean, he has interests in things that are beyond really anything that I would ever begin to show any interest in whatsoever myself. Let's just be real. But anyway, so I'm thrilled that we can provide the snacks and the goodies in this space, and specifically a special thanks to Brent and Julie who helped do so much for us. So today, I know I have some slides. Brent's getting some goodies. No, that's fine. I can waste time like the best of them. But right now, the Braves are winning 4-2 in St. Louis. So yeah, they were up 4-0. St. Louis is crawling back. It's 4-2. They have the split doubleheader today, so hopefully they'll win both games. Okay, Brent said he's ready. One of my best buddies, his mother-in-law just passed away, and they are now in St. Louis getting ready for her memorial service, which will be tomorrow. But anyway, okay, so I think we've wasted enough time to get back to the slides. Today is, believe it or not, the National Day of Forgiveness. I think that is awesome. And so if you've really ever spent much time with me or reading any of the materials I write, I really love these national days because it calls to mind all kinds of different things. And today is the National Day of Forgiveness, always June 26th. I think it was at one of our meetings I mentioned about how forgiveness is becoming a lost, I guess, art, whatever, in our culture. I was speaking with my niece not too long ago, and someone had offended, really hurt her feelings, and it was so deep. She was thinking about, removing herself from the planet, if you catch my drift, with the younger years. And I asked her, I said, "Are you able to forgive the person who said this horrible thing to you?" And she said, "Forgive him? What's that?" That's just such a core part of my Christian knowledge and nomenclature and experience. I mean, forgiveness is key and core to just about everything it is that we believe, say, and do. But this is a family, they live out west. They're not churched. And she could not even really come to understand what forgiveness was. And so through thinking about forgiveness and how much it is absolutely essential, I think about the importance of having a National Day of Forgiveness. And this is a day I think we, as followers in Jesus, need to seriously take into account. Now, one of the great verses that goes along with this actually comes from an encounter that Peter and Jesus had. You'll see from Matthew 18, verses 21 through 22, and this is the English Standard Version. Peter came to Jesus and asked, "Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times?" Jesus answered, "I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. Now, the number 7 in Hebrew scripture and knowledge, do you know what it means? It's also connected to creation. 7 means what? Complete. So Peter is asking, he's going to Jesus, and I'm thinking he's kind of got like that, what I like to refer to as Tom Thumb theology, sticking in his thumb and pulling out a plum and saying, "My, what a good disciple am I." I think that was the approach that Peter was taking to Jesus. Hey, look, I know I'm supposed to forgive 7 times because 7 means perfection. It means completion. Yet Jesus says 77 times. If Jesus were to be, in this regard, a Disney Pixar character, can you imagine who he might be or who he might channel? It's Buzz Lightyear. When Jesus says 70 times 7 times or 77 times, he's saying, I need you to not just forgive completely, I need you to be willing to forgive infinitely. and beyond. I need you to not look at forgiveness as though there is a limit to the amount of forgiveness that you can receive or you can give. I'm sorry, that was very ineloquent. I don't want you to think in terms of there's a limit to forgiveness that you can give, because there is no limit to forgiveness that you need to receive, right? We have another verse here. This one's from the New Living Translation, where we see, I think it's in Colossians chapter 3. Did I have it in there? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, Colossians chapter 3. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. All too often we encounter people and circumstances and places and things where we begin to think, there's got to be a limit to the amount of forgiveness that I can give to somebody before I just give up. Jesus would say something to the effect of, you have been forgiven infinitely and beyond your comprehension. You need to be willing to forgive infinitely and beyond comprehension. Ultimately, it's not just because of what forgiveness really does and means to you. And now I realize, there was a slowdown. I have 5 building slides on what forgiveness does and what it means for us. So thank you, Brent. My apologies. I didn't print out notes. That's why we messed up. So we have these little 5 things. I'm just going to leave with you really quickly about forgiveness. The first of all, forgiveness has health benefits, right? There's a toxicity that builds up within us when we ourselves are harboring bitterness. And forgiveness enables us to relieve ourselves of that toxicity. The second thing about forgiveness is it helps to strengthen our relationships. I know that there have been very few times in my marriage when my wife and I have come to loggerheads, and I'll be honest with you, most of the time it's my fault. I know that there's a certain strengthening in that relationship. It's much like working out and building muscles, right? When you tear down the fibers of something and give it time to rebuild and get stronger, the relationship gets stronger. And so that's what happens with our relationships as well. The third point we see is that forgiveness does not mean you condone, right? This is one of those great big misconceptions. There is a difference about forgiveness when you think about what it is that you condone or permit or to allow. But if you think about forgiveness in terms of the other two, if you say, I am relieving myself of trying to carry around the bitterness and the toxicity of this for the benefit of my relationship with myself and God and with you, then it doesn't mean I have to condone what it is that you do. It just means that I'm moving beyond the bitterness that I have. There is a difference in acceptance and approval. And one of those old nuggets I learned trying to figure out how I work with people who I need to accept and forgive, yet I cannot approve of their lifestyle, their behavior, their actions. And it came to me actually when the Braves decided not to re-sign Freddie Freeman. I can accept the fact that Freddie Freeman now plays first base for the Los Angeles Dodgers. I do not approve of it. And so when I came to that point, I was like, okay, I understand this. There is a difference in acceptance and approval. So when you forgive someone, it does not mean you condone the action, especially if it was something that was horrible, that wounded you greatly. The fourth point ties directly into that, is that forgiveness does not equal trust. Forgiveness does not equal trust. Just because you forgive someone, that does not mean that you trust them again. Again, remember, you are freeing yourself from the burden and the toxicity of carrying around the bitterness of what it has been in you. And then the fifth point is you got to let go of the anger and surrender your need for revenge. And that idea of surrender is exactly what God wants us to do with our heart and our mind for Him. To surrender to Him, to surrender to His will, to surrender to His peace. And so all of this works together. And had present me thought, or past me thought about future me right now, I would have remembered that I probably should have put this verse ahead. But it's still back with that Colossians verse. We all have reasons that we need to be forgiven. But we all have reasons that we need to forgive. And we think that there may be a limit to the type of forgiveness or the amount of forgiveness that we can give to somebody because of what they've done to us. We have to remember that there's no limit that we want God to put on forgiveness for us, right? And so the manner by which we forgive is the manner by which we receive forgiveness. And so Peter, thinking he's saying something really, really profound to Jesus, I'm willing to forgive someone perfectly and completely. Jesus says, I need you to learn how now to forgive someone infinitely and beyond. And so in the spirit of Buzz Lightyear, but even more importantly, in the passion of Christ. May we receive the forgiveness that God gives us to infinity and beyond, and be willing to express that to ourselves and to others, and yes, maybe even to God when he doesn't do things according to our plan. Amen? Let's have a word of prayer. Almighty God, I thank you for today. I thank you for this organization, nay, this ministry, C-Suite for Christ. Lord, in everyday living, there comes so many times and opportunities and ways for us to think about how we need to forgive others, and yet when we do that, we so frequently lose sight of how much we ourselves need to be forgiven. So with the snacks that we've eaten, but more importantly, with the fellowship that is nourishing our souls, I pray, Lord God, that you bless this time together. Be with Bruce as he prepares to give us a wonderful message, and may all that we do today focus on the power and the love of your word to infinity and beyond. In the name of Christ I pray. Amen and amen. Julie?
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. So we would like to welcome Bruce Pulver, who has been, I think you've been a member of C-Suite for Christ Atlanta for almost a year. He's also part of the Speakers Bureau of C-Suite for Christ, which is very special. And he is known as the Word Guy. He's an author, and his book, Above the Chatter, Our Words Matter. You guys need to get your own copy of this. He has them available for only $15, and I know that he will autograph them as well. And he is also part of the global TEDx, and the co-host of Can I Have a Word with You? And he does many podcasts, and he speaks all over the world. So we would like to welcome Bruce up now. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Thank you, guys. It's great to be with you today. That's awesome. And I'm going to go off script, which basically means there isn't one anyway. I did not know today was National Forgiveness Day. September 5th of 2020, a friend asked me to write the word forgiveness. And you'll see this as we go through the exercise and the process and the thing today. I look at words vertically, and I just use the letters to define. So if you would indulge me to start, I'd like to write how I wrote forgiveness for my friend Dawn. I think it ties into what we were talking about. At least I hope it does. The F is forget finding fault. Where does that help us, right? The O is of self or others, because sometimes we're having a hard time forgiving ourselves as much as the outward, the inward. At least for me, oftentimes it's, oh man, why did you do that? You could have done that. Why did you say? And it's the forgiveness that I, have a difficult time giving myself. The R is requires open hearts, right? Like a mind, they only work when they're open, and I think a heart is the same way. G is given fully and freely. Very difficult, but takes that step, takes that leap of faith often for me. I, in forgiveness, is invite blame to leave. In problem solving, when there's conflicts at work, or there's an issue, maybe it's a timeline and an implementation, or it's a contract term, there's something called triangulation, where we go after the issue, not each other. So that's where I'm talking about invite the blame to leave. Then we can start moving to resolution. The V is visualize then the new peace. How peaceful do you feel when you're able to forgive and you actually step in and do that? Or if someone offers you forgiveness when maybe you don't feel, or I don't feel, we don't feel, that that's something that we're deserving. The E then in forgiving is embrace the weightlessness. It's almost like the burden, right? It's like the weights are lifted off of our shoulder. The N is nourish the bruise, because it will sometimes be difficult the next day after you did, why did I really wanted to hold on to that anger? I really wanted to hold on to that revenge, right? But nourish the bruise. It may take some time to heal. The E then is emerge with clarity. If we've forgiven, we then, I think, have the opportunity then to look at things through a different lens. It's no longer there. It's like when you don't forgive, we hold a grudge, it's like taking poison, expecting someone else to be impacted by that. The S is set a blameless mind. Sometimes we don't know the process by which someone may have offended us or impacted us. We don't know their life. We don't know what was going on. So if we can set a blameless mind, that can also help us with the forgiveness. And there's one more. Then the last S is share and now move on. So that's what kind of came to me. That was 4 years ago, and thank you for bringing that up. I just had to look in my phone because I keep all these when I write them. It's kind of a crazy thing that I do. So the words are the GPS for our faith walk. That is my mantra for my life. I know that when I am able to find some level of, and I don't want to get hung up on positivity, but I want to get hung up on possibility. If I can get hung up on possibility through the use of my words, how I talk to myself and how I talk out loud to others, that is the GPS. That's the way I want to be on the path of my faith walk. So I'd like to use that as our talk today, as the title. But you'll see I write words vertically like I did forgiveness. I have 4 objectives. Let's play today. I'd like to share a personal story. Then I'd really like to ask you to lean in with me and engage. There will be some workshop stuff here that you can participate in. If you've been in my talks before or seen any of my TED Talk or anything, you'll know that I really like to have interactive access and interactive participation. Allow some room in the mind for thinking, because what I've found in my journey of the power of our words is I can get really used to using the same ones. I can go back to a pattern of conversations with myself, and if we can kind of allow some room in there to expand, I think a really dear friend of mine is a phenomenal professional musician, and he told me once, Bruce, the notes you don't play are part of the music as well. It's the space. It's the tacit, which is the quiet part of the music when you're not playing. And if I've done a good job here, I will hope that you leave with a new skill, something you can use the minute you walk out the door in your next interaction with the next person that you meet, cross, call, talk with, text with, etc. So who wants to play? Okay, I got all arms up. Okay, fantastic. Good, let's go. Okay, oops, wrong way. I think, yeah, here we go. Oh, there we go. There we go. Oops, wrong way. Up. What I got there. That's all right. We'll just do this. We'll start right here. Here we go. Okay. So we'll do the dance. Haven't played the drums in a while, but if we need to. There we go. Okay. How many of you have, and I want you to think about this, raise your hand, if you have like a go-to word, a phrase. Maybe it came from a coach or a teacher or a band director, or it's something that your grandmother used to say. Or you've got a word. Okay, I'm going to ask you to do something real quickly. I want you to take out a phone or a piece of paper and write your word down. And then write it vertically. We'll come back to this in a few minutes. Your go-to word, that phrase or that thing that when you need to get a little extra or be confident with yourself, or something that you maybe don't go to all the time, but when you do, you're glad you did. We'll keep moving. That word will come up in a minute. But the interesting thing about words is that if you move the S to the beginning, words are a sword. And biblically, we know in Scripture, it's many times. I picked out 2 that are a couple of my favorites. Sharp words cut like a sword, but words of wisdom heal. We'll circle back to some statistics on that in a minute, outside biblical perspective. Words kill or words give life. They're either poison or fruit, you choose. Proverbs 18:21 from the Message. I love sometimes going to different interpretations and different writings because it just reveals things to me when I sit. And one of my favorites is, don't hit the ball in the water. The last words of every unemployed caddy. Words have power. Our subconscious mind is unable to interpret the word don't. I'll prove it. Don't picture a pink elephant. But I'm a word guy, but let's start with the numbers. Psychology today says that we have 25 to 50,000 thoughts that go through our mind a day. You believe that? For me, it may even be more. It depends on what's going on during the day, right? And that's fine. But what was interesting to me in this study is that 70% of those are negative, and 95% of them are repeated. So what does that tell me? It tells me that the script that we play, sometimes we don't pay attention to, and sometimes it's geared towards the negative, which can have come from protection, avoiding danger. Don't do that. Stay away from that. That's dangerous. But it can also ease very quickly into what we're trying to achieve and gives us some limiting beliefs and limiting thoughts about things that we should, if we think about correctly and use our words correctly, put us in a different position. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. UNC did a study as well. They said there are, this is incredible to me, I've heard different ones here, but I'm going to quote this study, that for every 3 doses, it takes 3 doses of positivity to offset 1 dose of negativity. My youngest daughter is 23 now. She played soccer from the time she was 5. We traveled all over. Those sideline conversations from parents to the field, and yes, I probably was one of them at time to time. Don't let her beat you. You're better than that. Why can't you, boom, why did you lose the ball? I can't believe you fouled that person then, right? One of those takes 3, great effort. I loved how you stepped in and took the ball away. Or I loved how you got back on defense when the ball was taken away from you. It takes 3 of those to offset 1. I've heard 10 before. And I'll tell you a story. When I was 12 years old, we're talking about baseball. When I was 12 years old, I played on the Little League fields. And those are the first fields you start on. The bases are, I think, 60 feet. Pitcher's mound is 46 feet, 6 inches to home plate. The outfields are usually 200 feet or less, depending. And I was okay, you know, all-star here and there, played third base, batted 3rd or 4th, started pitching. I was ready to make the move to the big field when you're 13 years old. Goes to 90 feet, 60 feet from the pitcher's mound, right? And then those fences are forever. So I had an amazing baseball coach. He was 22 years old. He just retired as the head of scouting and player checking for the Arizona Diamondbacks. His name is Tim Wilkin. He's in the he's in the Hall of Fame for scouting. He was 22 at the time. So I get to this big field, right? Taking ground balls at third base. I can't even see first base. It's so far away compared to what I'm used to, right? He sees us all taking grounders. He comes up to me and says, "Hey, Bruce, I need you at second, man. Your hands are pretty good. We're going to have to turn some double plays or at least get the force out when in the infield so we can keep those runners from getting to second base. Can you head over to second for me?" "Yeah, man. Oh, I'm in. Okay." Then he goes, taking batting practice, and he comes up to me and he says, your eye hand's pretty good. We're going to need to get some base runners on, and I see your speed. So I'm going to move you to first or second in the lineup because I need to get you on, and then those guys behind you are going to come hit the ball in the gap. We're going to get you to third base on a single when they hit one in the gap. Okay, sure, coach, working on my bunting, right, all this time. Then he said, we play now instead of 5 innings, we're going to play 9 innings, and, I got some starting pitchers, but they're going to get tired. I'm going to need you to come in later in the game because the speed of your pitch is going to throw off those batters who've been hitting, seeing a faster ball during the game. I said, "Oh, man, that's awesome." I had the best year ever at age 13. What he didn't say is you've got a rag arm, and I'm moving you from third to second, and you can't even hit the ball out of the infield, so I'm going to put you up first and bunch you around. And he goes, "You're not going to pitch here, but maybe if I need you, I'll bring you in a pickle." I had the opportunity 6 months ago to have lunch with Tim Wilkin and had the opportunity to thank him for that. Goes exactly to that. I think he knew what he was doing. I don't know, but it sure had a massive impact on me. And I try to tell that story every time. Whenever you have the option of encouraging or discouraging, please take the encouragement. Find something, especially with our kids. It's so important. Okay, I told you I was going to tell a story. Some of you have heard this before, but it was 1961. There was a 2.5-year-old son already, and the mother was pregnant with the second child. And they lived 15 miles from the hospital, and the plan was when the mother went into labor that they would take the son next door. The neighbor would drive the husband and wife to the hospital when the mother went into labor. Well, that all happened. Mother went into labor, water broke, sharp pain in her leg. Sharp pains, labor starts on. They get in the car, away they go. The mother says, "I can't feel my leg." The husband says, "You're probably sitting on a seatbelt or something. Don't worry, we'll get there. They wheel them into the hospital. They take her vital signs and they notice that her pulse is flying, but her blood pressure is dropping. Also, when they wheeled her in, her foot fell off the wheelchair stirrup, and the wheel rolled over her foot, and she couldn't feel it. She felt nothing. They knew something was wrong. They immediately took her into the OR. They did a C-section, delivered the baby. And what they found out was she had a dissecting aortic aneurysm during labor. What that means is the blood leaving the heart has the valve, the arteries. It tore between the inner wall and the outer wall. No one had ever survived that longer than 72 hours on record since the 1700s. There were 2 surgeons who just happened to be teaching aortic valve replacement from Tulane University that were at Yale University teaching other students this procedure. They call those guys over. They do 3 experimental surgeries on this woman, including congestive heart failure, another tear in the valve, and they had to do a Dacron shield in her leg to stop from amputating her leg to get the blood flow going through. They needed 15 pints of blood, and 12 of those pints came from members of her church. They were 15 miles from the hospital, not 18 miles. My mom was that woman, and she saw me the first time when I was 60 days old. So I tell you that story because it was a miracle. God showed up on opening day in my life. I didn't realize it. It took a while. We were raised in a family of my mom's gratitude. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And I was always in the church. I feel like I was connected, but we're going to talk a little bit more later about, was I connecting? And what did that mean to me to be able to do that and to learn what that means, and how do I try to live that way? So there's the article there in New England Journal. That's myself with my head on my mom's shoulder and my brother kind of pulling her hair out. And that's me sitting in the black and white picture with Archie. Archie was the dog on which they performed the experimental surgery and teaching the class from the surgeons from Tulane. My mom got a chance to meet Archie. And that's us kind of on a picnic table and the article was really interesting because, and that's all I really know about the story because we didn't really talk too much about it, but one of the things I remember, we were kind of talking about God providing and the financial aspects and just being on his path. One of the last paragraphs of the article was, my dad said, when all bills were paid, they had $1.37 in their savings account. Then the septic tank went out, and they had to replace that. And Dad said, we've had worse things happen in the last year and a half. So point being, I was raised in a family of amazing gratitude. Every day I woke up, my mom woke up, it was a blessing. And I didn't realize that in the big world that I'm in until some things occurred in my life. I just thought, things go fine, just be grateful. Well, not always the case. So then there's Dad, right? He was the silent patient in the whole process, right? He didn't see her. I mean, he saw her on and off, but 60 days before he kind of had his wife back and didn't know what he was going to get when his wife came home, right? I mean, it was all unknown. But he was the real word guy. And so all these talks, I try to give a little example of what that meant, and I'll tie all this stuff together. He wrote plays and poems, loved to do crossword puzzles, as I mentioned. And one of the plays he wrote, the characters in the play were their names. The characters were their jobs. It's what they did. He had this thing about able to do that. So the sheriff in town was named Law and Order. The gardener, her name was Trezar Green. Yep. Then there were two mystery writers. They worked together, did a couple of novels together, Paige Turner and Cliffhanger. Then there was the weatherman from Europe. His first name was Gustav Wind. And then how many of you have to have a plan B before you leave the house? Like, I got to have an extra set of keys, got to have water in the car, I've got to have whatever your thing is. Some of you are nodding, so some of you know who this person's going to be, and his name is Just In Case. So he was the guy that was there. And then, of course, the nurse at the hospital, her name was Ophelia Pulse. So imagine being 15 years old and your dad comes in, or you got a buddy over, you listen to records, or by chance you might even have a girl over and you're sitting in the front porch and dad comes out and goes, Bruce, I got another name. You're like, get out of here, leave me alone. But I guess what sunk into me was his love of the language and love of what words meant, and of course mom's gratitude. So that was my life. It was mom's positive energy and Dad's just love of the language and how we used it and how things could just sound differently. Like there's 3 ways to say the word there. There, in their chair. 3 different ways. You say it in the same sentence. Anyway, that's kind of the way he was. So, what I realized was, through all of this, what the 2 most important days in your life, which Mark Twain says, is the day you're born, which I just described, and then the reason you find out why. What's your purpose? What's your why? Simon Sinek stuff, right? What is the reason that you do? People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. People are attracted to you for why. What's your reason? So I'm going to fast forward then in this story. Why did I tell you the story about Mom and Dad? And how did all this word thing come together? Well, 25 years with a company, well, in the industry with 2 different companies, I suffered my second layoff. Corporate downsizing, call it what you want, right? One was with a company for about 20 years, and then 5 years later with another company, and then all of a sudden I get the Charlie Brown's teacher, HR person in the room. Nothing against HR folks, but Bruce, your position's been eliminated, and then HR goes, no. Here's your package. Here's the Cobra, severance, turn in your key, your computer, you're out now. You go, wait, what? Well, that happened to me. No, it didn't. It happened for me twice. The only thing that was the same in those 2 layoffs was me. So that day, next day, Mom's gratitude and Dad's love of words just forged themselves in my life. So what happened? I call it my BAM moment. It's when everything's going along okay, and then bam, something happens. For me, it was a job. It could be a diagnosis. It could be a relationship blow up. It could be loss of a job. It could be an accident. It could be loss of a loved one. It could be anything, but I call it a BAM moment. And I think we've all had them. And here's what occurred when my BAM moment happened. I woke up the following morning, and a word was pounding in my head, strong. I just wrote it. What did it mean? Stand tall, remain optimistic, now go for it. The letters, they were just right there. And that's what it ended up meaning to me. I'm like, okay, that's weird, right? That's weird, Bruce. But I had to find something that day to be strong about. Strong for my family, strong for my faith, strong for my kids, strong for what was going to come next. Well, okay, that's great. The next morning, awesome. Today's going to be awesome. Again, wrote it down. A wonderful experience shall overwhelm my expectations. I didn't know what it meant, but I got in the car. I had to go to the grocery store. There are 5 traffic lights from my house to the grocery store, and 2 of them are left-hand turns. All 5 lights were green. And I live in Buckhead, right there, boom. Crazy, right? Crazy stuff. Then I get into the parking lot, and there's a spot open right up front. It was awesome. Then I got through with the cart, and there's a big long line. Another cashier light went on. Take the next one over. Boom, slid right in. It wasn't super awesome, right? But it was something that I, with the gratitude, just was teaching me. And this was divine. This wasn't something that I just woke up and said, you know what, I'm going to start writing today. The next day, which was amazing, yes, I can. I'd just been really blown out of the water. And for me, it was significant. Just a job loss, right? But for me, it hit home. Just like everybody else's situation is the biggest thing in the world to them when it occurs. So you expect success in challenging activities now. So it was a challenging activity, right? Who wants to start over? Who wants to rebuild a resume? Who doesn't expect this? And you got all those emotions going through your head. So what do? I wrote these things down for 420 consecutive days. It was a journal. That's all it was. It was a 3-ring binder until I sent one to a friend who's a pediatric heart surgeon who knew all about what my mom's situation was. We had a conversation about it. He goes, man, I want you to send me your words every day. He's at the University of Florida as a professor of pediatric heart surgery there. So he called me one night and he said, Bruce, thank you for sending me that word today. And I wasn't even sure what it was. I really wasn't. And I go, okay, tell me more. He goes, well, we were scrubbing at 6 in the morning to work on a procedure for a 7-day-old baby, the heart the size of a walnut. There were 10 possible things that we could find when we went in there. There were 6 of us scrubbing. Egos, people with, what the process is, got to get it right, all this. And with the 10 things that we could see, there were possibly 10 different solutions. So we were combinationing through as we're scrubbing. And my phone went off. My scrub nurse pulled out my phone. What is it? Text from Bruce. Read it. And I sent him the word calm, which was catch a little moment. Just C-A-L-M. And he said, we stepped back, and we were able to then kind of get out of the 100 possible combinations, and it didn't make the surgery successful. That's not the point of the story. But the impact that that word had on my friend and all those professionals at that moment meant that this was needed to be more than a journal, and it just continued to pour into me the power of our words. So I wanted to tell you that story because this now is the lean-in part. This is the part where we start participation. Now you know why words are so important to me. They drive everything. And I think about when I get down, I realize that I'm not thinking about the power of my words, and I've got my self-talk. I'm a mouse in my own laboratory. I have to do this stuff. So, words are memorable. Ask not what your country can do for you, but right, memorable. We remember that. We're never going to forget that if we remember that speech, right? JFK, right? They're inspirational. When the going gets tough, someone said to me once, the tough go shopping. But whatever your vice is, right? But you're right. They're declarative. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Neil Armstrong, right, on the moon? And a company has built a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, right? Everybody knows who this is. Just do it, right? So they are incredibly memorable, inspirational, declarative, and motivation. But they are also very much, they have perspective. What you say and what I hear can be two different things. My wife is a chef, but she doesn't bake. Everything she does is a stovetop or grill. That's just her style. So I came downstairs one morning and she goes, I'm going to do some bacon. And I said, no, you're not. You don't do that. We broil bread in the oven. Maybe we warm up something, but you don't bake. It's not cakes, or you don't do those things. And all of a sudden I smelled the aroma of bacon. I thought she said she was going to do some baking, but she was cooking some bacon. I heard something totally different and drew the conclusion that this lady's crazy. She doesn't bake. And then I smelled the bacon. Now I get it. One time she was cooking and she said, I love to do the chop, I call it the chop 'em ups, it's sous chef stuff, right? And she says, go get the bay leaves. So when I returned from the liquor cabinet, she sent me to the spice cabinet because she wanted bay leaves, not Baileys. Words have perspective. So here's Joe. Joe's on an island, right? You see him with his hands up like this. He's a boat on the horizon. What do you think he's thinking? Rescued? Getting off this island, right? How long has he been there? Look at his slacks are all torn up, and he probably hasn't shaved for a while. Looks like he probably needs a haircut. He is so excited to see this guy on the horizon who also has his arms up, saying land. I'm finally getting out of this boat. So think about that in conversations with others. And here's another example. You wrap up a meeting. We'll get together soon. Tomorrow afternoon at 3 or in 3 months? Is it specific enough, right? It's perspective. It's what you hear. And it happens all the time. Another example. We have a neighbor who's a single mom and has a daughter in her house next door. That's 2. And then Bridget, Emily, Peyton, and myself. So that's 4, 2 plus 4 total, half dozen people. So it was Mother's Day, and we messaged Suzanne next door, how about brunch on Mother's Day for 6? Suzanne texts back, don't you think that's a little bit late? Thought it was 6 p.m. Those things happen all the time. Anyway, and that's sort of it. Okay, so when we think about change, which side, raise your hand if you're on the reluctant side, like how you like change or don't like. Do you embrace it automatically? Is it kind of like, oh no, not change? I'm the only one that is reluctant for change. Wow, that's pretty cool. I got Julie, okay. Willing to change, okay, willing to look at change. Well, it always changes, right? But do we like it, right? So someone told me once the only thing that likes change is a baby with a wet diaper. No. Oh, okay, so I wrote 2 ways to look at change. From the reluctant side, can't handle any negative gut-wrenching experiences. That's the, oh no. But if we step into a change, a new policy, the comp plan changes, a new boss, a new relationship, if we use an open mindset about that, circumstances have altered, now get engaged. Just another way to kind of look at it. But it also, for me, triggers how I'm going to step into the change. Okay, just one way to look at that. Okay, this is one of my favorites, commit. So let's say that we're going to commit to eat better diet. I will say to you, count on me making it there. I'm committed. I'm going to give a high five over here. Now let's go get a cheeseburger. Yeah. So we've said it, right? The what part of commit. Count on me making it there. It reminds me of the treadmill in my house that sometimes by February 15th becomes a clothesline. Just count on me making it there. So how do we go, though? So how do we activate this? How do we go from commitment of what to how, using the same letters? Got to go the other way. Here we go. Come with possibility thinking. That's the C, right? Own how we use our time. All right, let's say we're going to run a 5K. We better start by walking some laps around the track. Let's just come own our time. That 30 minutes to do the walk is one less Netflix show, right? You got to own how we use our time. When Emily and Peyton were playing volleyball and soccer, I would never miss the pickup time. I actually tried to go to the practices. I would promise them I'll be there. But what about those promises we make to ourselves that say, I'm going to, and then someone else, another priority comes into place. It's really important on the how to keep those promises we make to ourselves, even if it means 30 minutes earlier in the morning to get up and do it. Anyway, just this, I'm not preaching, I'm just saying that I think that's something that gets to that. Man, make service part of the process. Like take an empty bag with you when you go for that walk around the track and you find some trash, pick it up, right? Throw it in the garbage. Take an extra bottle of water. If you walk by the police officer that's directing traffic, hand him a bottle of water while you're going out for the walk. Maybe it's a mile away, and it's a 2-mile walk. I'm going to take a bottle of water to him, mile out, mile back. Boom. Made service part of it. Makes things kind of more meaningful to me. Okay, we got to have our actions in line with our goals. We can't expect to have better health if we just high five and have the cheeseburger, right? Nothing against cheeseburgers, but just using that as an example here. Then, what I like to say is with our realize, we'll realize the outcomes that we're looking for. So just a way to look at commitment to me. And I also believe in being incremental. I love the word incremental because the word mental's in it. Just making a mindset switch. Okay. All right. Oops. Uh-oh. Did we stick? We'll get to the audience participation part in just a minute. Hope you're like on the edge of your seats, ready to go. Ready? Okay, here we go. Perfect. There we go. Okay. Oh, we had it. There we go. Okay. We're going to use this side of the audience for A and this side for B. Okay. 5 words. 5 words, right? 2, 3, 5. This side, I want you to bring your most negative impression of these words, like how it makes you feel. The first thing that could, visceral response when I say, I'm bound. What comes to mind? Tied up? Restricted? Okay. I buckle. Fall? Okay. Flop? Hold up. Stop? Most negative. Hold up. Okay. Time wasted. Love it. Okay. Robbed. Mugged. Okay. Left. No, versus right, but left. Like alone. Okay. Forgotten and stuck. Okay. Round of applause for this side of the room. Thank you. Well done. Spur of the moment. Okay. Now, on this side of the room, I need you to bring your most positive energy that you possibly can bring visceral response, same sort of thing, positive. Bound to love, you're committed. On a new path, bound and determined, bound for glory, bound for greatness. Okay. Hold up. Yes, I'm leading the witness. I did this for hold up. Oh, buckle. I'm sorry, buckle. Safety. Okay. Buckle down. Buckle down. Get after it. Okay. Hold up. Support. Lift. Okay. Left. I love this one. Left a bad situation. Escaped. Left the pain behind. Someone said once in this talk where we did this, they said, I'm so grateful, how did they say this? That you haven't left me. Just another way to kind of think about that. Still here. Like, who never leaves us, right? Who never leaves us? So I was frustrated at one time about working through some things in my faith and all this. I turned to a buddy and I said, I just don't see God. I can't find him. He goes, who moved? Me, right? Me. It was me. He never leaves us. And then stuck with it. Round of applause over here. Maybe golf clap. These are called contronyms. There's like 30 or 40 contronyms. There's another one called garnish. Like you add to your hamburger, lettuce, tomato, etc. Or wages go away. It's add, take away, right? Rock, you move, or rock, stuck, right? Anyway, there's different ways of doing that. So thank you guys. That helps because as we start thinking about our words, right, they can mean different things. Just all depends on how we apply them to where we're going. Okay, now here is the audience participation. I asked you guys to write down a word that was your go-to word when we first started. Might be a power word or something that encourages you or something you learned yourself or a relative or a friend or someone. And do you all have that word? Got most of yeses, okay. So think about that meaning of the word for you. And then with each letter in that word, write something meaningful about that definition. It can be a phrase, a sentence. You know, I kind of went through forgiveness, so I did that. One of my favorite words is gifts. God installed features to share. Or faith, facing anything insurmountable, trust him. But your words, and then just think of a phrase or describe, this is kind of not the why, but maybe it is, the why that word is so important to you. When you use that word, what is it that it brings to mind and hopefully to action for you? And this is usually where we play the Jeopardy music, but I don't have it, so I'm not going to sing it, so you can kind of, maybe I will, no, I won't sing it. That wouldn't be good. Be careful with words with Z and Q. They're really hard to start sentences with words with Q. Zesty, zebra-like, xylophone. No, that's not a Z, that's a X. Next piece. Okay. Ah, beautiful. Done. Have you written a word? Oh, I love that. Final Jeopardy question is, Julie, good? Yours? Daniel, you good? Okay. Mark. I think you're working on one, right? This table looks close to done. Emily, close? Okay. Got a pen down, pen down. Rebecca's still working diligently. Yeah. Now, if you have a P and you want it to be like an F, you can just do PH and it works. So there's no rules, right? The last people that thought I would write a book, my English teachers. So I don't apply any rules to this technique and concept. Oh, perfect. Fade to the music. Love it. Thank you, Brent. You're awesome. Okay, everybody have a word. Here comes the next step, kind of the leaning in, leaving some space here. Who wants to share their word? Okay, we'll start here. Let me ask a couple of questions. So, number one, what is your word?
My word is
growth. Love that word. Okay. And can you share with us some of the background of why growth is such an important word to you?
Sure. I spent about 20 years in the military, and after getting out the last 8 years of trying to be about which way is my career going, how am I going to get there. Recently got an MBA, but still unsure about how to apply the MBA to the other experience to figure out which direction.
So it's a mode you are in, want to be in, thrive in, got to get there from moving from point A to point B. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Now, will you tell us how you wrote growth, just by reading what that meant to you?
Using some of the techniques we've
Yeah.
heard here, examples of going right on with thoughtful happiness.
Going right on with thoughtful happiness. Awesome. Put an applause for that. Thank you. Yes, Oakland, will you tell me what the word is that you wrote? Can I read that out loud so everybody can hear it? Oakland wrote the word love. Lollipop, ox, very, extreme. Do you like lollipops? I do too. What's your favorite flavor? Strawberry. Yeah, we're one and the same. Okay, thank you for sharing your word. All right. I'm glad you came today. Who else wants to share their word? Rebecca. So the word you chose is? Hope. Hope. Okay, and give us some background of the importance of hope. Obviously, Captain Obvious here.
For me, that word is really important because my life up to this point, it's a very, very interesting journey. And there's been many, many times throughout my life where hope was not in the immediate vicinity of my reality.
Okay.
And if it hadn't been for God's intervention, there was no hope.
Amen.
On all fronts. And so when I thought about the word, it's like what has kept me through all these years I've been walking on the planet. It's like every time it's like hope.
Awesome.
Like whether God shows up or he puts somebody in my life, but it's like hope is that constant thing that just keeps moving me forward.
Fantastic.
To be like, okay, it looks like this is it. And they're about to call a winner, but no, here comes hope.
Oh, I love that. Now, can you tell us now how you broke down hope?
How I wrote it is hope. Healing from hell, open eyes to the extraordinary, protected and full of purpose, embrace new mindset with energy and excellence.
Wow, love that. Thank you. We did this clubhouse room called "Can I Have a Word with You" every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern, and we did the word extraordinary. And we did the word ordinary actually this week, and it was how to be extraordinary by doing ordinary things really well. So thanks for sharing hope. Julie, would you like to share your word? First is, what is the word? Perfect. Rise up. And that's important to you because?
have a hard time, first of all, getting up in the morning. So it just reminds me I need to rise up and also to rise up for Christ and for God and to be there, for Him on a daily basis.
Love that.
Also for my managers to rise up and be there for them.
How did you write Rise Up?
How I wrote it is not as inspiring. It's remember inspirational stories every day, unlimited prayer.
Awesome. Love that. I love that. My dad wrote, love that. When you said the word up, it reminded me of something that my dad used to tell me, the word guy, right? He said, Bruce, he said two things about the word get and give. He said the only time get should come before give is either in the dictionary, alphabetically, or when up comes after it. Always get up before you give up. So thank you for that. I think we've got time for maybe one or two more if you'd like. If not, but I'm going to challenge you. Mark, yes, sir.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was answering your question.
Oh, well, would you like to share your word?
Yeah. So I did one on our adopted daughter's name,
Awesome.
Bryson, which is Brighton.
Right then.
Believing righteousness is God's help to overcome negativity.
Wow. Wow. So thank you for that. And I know that there's good news coming soon, and we're so excited for you on that. And so I would also, one of my challenges was going to be, and thank you for saying this, Mark, is that a loved one in your life, a child, a spouse, significant, take a moment and write their name vertically. Using just the letters of their name. Describe why you love them and what's important to them. What's important to you about them. What's so special about them. That could be the catalyst for working through something. Hey, my wife's name's Bridget. Times, just what she means to me, right? And there's very few words that are more powerful and more pleasing to the ear than to hear someone's own name spoken. Take it a step further. If you have the opportunity, I would encourage you to do that and write the name of someone else and see what happens. Let's leave with a challenge. First of all, did we play? Did y'all have fun? It's fun for me. I'm like a geek about words, so I appreciate you stepping into my world for 40 minutes and participating as actively as you did. I'd like to give you a 30-day challenge. Pay attention to the words we use, right? Number one. Replace a negative with a positive. My dad used to play this game where you'd take an empty Campbell's soup container out to the street with his buddies, and they would kick it. And you call the game Kick the Can. I'm going to challenge you to kick the can't. What do I mean by that? And untie the knots, N-O-T-S. For an hour in one day, work to have a conversation with someone or yourself, avoiding words that end in N-T, N-apostrophe-T, or N-O-T. Here's what we can do. I am versus I'm trying, or I'm working on it, or I've never done that, or I can't do that. I am better eater. I am fit. I am whatever those things are. So that would be my challenge, is to replace a negative with a positive. Keep that word with you, put it somewhere. It's on your phone or somewhere, and refer to that. And you can even rewrite it a different way. If the word growth comes to you a different way, feel free to write that down. It helps us pay attention to that script that goes on in our mind. Share your word and, track your outcomes. I'm a true believer in rituals, in consistency of things. They say it takes 21 days to form a habit. I believe that becomes what you do. So if we're going to walk for 21 days, well, I'm walking for 21 days. It's what I do. But the science says it takes 67 days. On the 66th day, it's hard to do that thing. On the 67th day, it's harder not to do it. So, Julie, you were talking about, not picking on you, were talking about getting up in the morning. If you, first of all, do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then get out of bed. Just do the countdown. That's the Mel Robbins thing, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the NASA thing. And do that every day. Do it 2 days, then do it a third day, then do it a fourth day. And then ultimately it's going to become harder to stay there than it is to make the move. I found that in a lot of things that I've done in my life. So I pray that this message resonated in some way with you, and I thank you for your time. I do have some books here if you're interested. I've got Venmo and I've got my Square, no obligation. Just thank you for having me. I hope this was worth your 45 minutes to kind of hear some goofball chat. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks. Thank you. My pleasure.
You were amazing. Is it still on? Testing. Okay. You're amazing. Oh, that's good.
No. Thank you.
Thank you. Wasn't he amazing? So, I was just going to end by, first of all, thanking y'all for being here and to make a few announcements. So, like I said, Matt and Buffy are out of town right now. They're supposed to be on vacation, but they are still working. But they are with their teenagers, so just keep them in your prayers to be safe out there. And next week, they are actually traveling to Africa. And they're going to be there for 2 weeks, and they are going to be partnering with Bucket Ministries to help with clean water, to provide for people who are over there that don't have clean water. And so for, I think it's $50 donation that people make for through Bucket Ministries, it helps to provide one household of 4 people 20 years worth of free water, not free water, but clean water, which is great through their processing that they do. And then they also get to learn about Christ, because there's a lot of people over there that don't even know about Christ. So that's what their mission is for the next 2 weeks. So please pray for them as well. And then I have a couple of prayer requests. So LaWanda Holloman is one of our members, and her dad has been in the hospital, but he is home resting. So I just got that email, and he's home resting now, but just please still keep him in her in our prayers. Sylvia Alvarez, she's also one of our members. Her daughter is in labor right now. I'm not sure if she's had her baby yet, but he should be born sometime today. And also, let's see what else. I just wanted to make a couple announcements about some events that we have coming up. I gave y'all a packet. If you did not receive it, I'll get you one before you leave. So on Saturday, July the 13th, there's going to be a free event where C-Suite for Christ Atlanta is going to partner with Christ for All Nations, and we need volunteers for that particular day. But it's, I'm not sure if it's the first one that they've had, but it's being held in Atlanta, so that's going to be amazing. There's going to be hundreds of people, if not thousands of people there. So we're looking forward to that. Matt and Buffy, for those that who don't know, they also have a nonprofit called Outer Circle Foundation. So we have a golf outing coming up on October the 10th. So that information, we have sponsorships and opportunities to play golf. So that is in there. And then the last thing that's in your packet is we have our first C-Suite for Christ Atlanta Symposium and Concert. And Kaylee Bishop will be performing there. We're going to have Bruce, again, who's going to be one of our speakers. Dale Alexander is going to be one of our speakers, our keynote. And LaWanda, as well as Pastor Jordan. So Mark is going to be one of our speakers, and then there's a lady named Courtney Robinson who is also one of our members. So there's a Meet the Speakers there, and we would love to have y'all there. We're also looking for sponsorships, and if you have a company that you want to rent a booth, I think it's only like $50 to have a booth there. It's an all-day event. And for authors, like Bruce, that want to have a table, or just anybody. And really, that's all the announcements that I have. And if Emily? I just wanted to comment on the golf tournament. Yes. That was a really good opportunity for networking. I've gone the past 2 years volunteering there, and they have at least 40 teams, 40 courses out there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's amazing. It's actually held at Bears Best Atlanta in Swanee, I believe it is, and Steve Harvey also. I believe so. So like Emily is saying, Nassar, we featured him last year because we saved him, or Outer Circle Foundation helped save him and his family out of Afghanistan. Thank you. You see, I'm getting my words tongue-tied. I was thinking Africa because that's where Matt and Buffy are going to be. So out of Afghanistan. And so that's an amazing family. So we would love to have y'all there. So thank you so much for being here, especially for your new faces there as well. So thank you again, Bruce and Mark, for your devotional. And we look forward to seeing y'all soon. We do have these here the fourth Wednesday of the month, and our Atlanta meetings are held on the second Wednesday of each month. So thank you. Just since January.
Wow,
So we
6
just
months, wow.
started in January, which is great. We had it in Atlanta all last year, and we realized that there's a lot of you that actually live local here, and that was the main reason. So we greatly appreciate Hope Church allowing us to utilize meeting space for here. And also thank you, Mark, as well, and your son for the delicious cookies and the nacho bar treat. That was a very nice treat. And Brent, thank you for all you do as well.
Yes.
So thank you. Thank you for putting up with me, too.
Thanks,
And
everyone.
again, there's Bruce's books here.
Thank you. You're awesome.